Hey everybody, this is Pixelblips podcast. I'm Andy Ryan. That's Dave DeWert. Recently I got a hold of these awesome books by Hardcore Gaming 101. This is the new one, the unofficial guide to Konami shooters. I'm not gonna let you hold my books.
I was gonna hold it so we could hold both up at once.
And this one came out in October. The guide to Castlevania, which I now realize that's backwards because of how the camera records. But promise me that says Castlevania.
No, it's not backwards, is it? Oh well,
And
whatever.
It's backwards. It's a
Whatever.
flip. Anyway, so these books are awesome, and you should totally support Hardcore Gaming 101. I've been wanting to do a show for a long time about like the best websites around the web. We're not doing that today, but one of the ones I do want to highlight is Hardcore Gaming 101. The dude that runs it is the Ken Burns of video games.
Okay.
He gets so much information about just the most random games you've ever thought. Like Pocky and Rocky is on there.
He's like a one-man
Sunset
Wikipedia.
Riders. Yeah, it's better than Wikipedia because it's actually like it's pruned and developed in such a way that you can tell that it's not just a bunch of mouth-breathing idiots randomly editing a Wikipedia page. There's like care like written into all the things.
The guy actually likes video games. He doesn't just like acting like he likes video games.
Yeah, he has like a multi-page write-up on all the Dragon Quest games, all wizardry, random Konami platformers from the mid-90s. Like there's a page on Bucky O'Hare for the NES.
Because why not?
Yeah, I mean like it's so like there's multiple ones about Mega Man. He's great. Awesome. And writing these books, he's even better. The people that write these books, all part of the website, they're even better. He has other books out there on Sega Arcade Classics where like it talks about like not just Afterburner, but all of the other Afterburner games.
Yeah.
Not just Shinobi, but all the Shinobi titles.
Games. Yeah.
Not just Ultra Beast, but all the Ultra Beast titles, including Alex Kidd titles. Like it's great. He also has a big, thick phone book of the unofficial oral history of Japanese game developers.
Oh, okay.
So, like, just like from the time before we all knew what Japan was, before the mid-'90s when Final Fantasy VII blew up, like, the old stories, the people that made, like, the Xanadu games and the Japanese wizardry games, like, all this crazy stuff. And he just does, they're so in-depth, they're so good. And it's something that we really need in gaming that we don't have. We need
like
chronicler.
Somebody who like a chronicler, somebody who would take all those oral histories and actually put them down on something so they can be preserved. Because once the problem with an oral history is when somebody stops telling it, it kind of stops. Yeah. It disappears. So
when I say Ken Burns, I really do mean that. Like, because Ken Burns like goes so deep into like I always think of his baseball documentary. About just so crazy in depth and into like the minutia of old baseball, and not baseball nowadays, but like how it became
what it is today.
And with companies like actively being against him too, like Konami actually had him pull the Castlevania book. He had to put a dust cover on it that said even a bigger like it says. Like, I have a first printing of it, and nowhere on here does it say the unofficial guide on the cover. So they actually had him reprint the cover with a giant sticker on it that said, unofficial guide, unauthorized.
Guide. Yeah.
Like, this one says, the unofficial guide to Konami shooters. So, obviously, and there's a sticker smaller in the corner that says, unofficial and unauthorized. So, obviously, they're getting around to it. But I follow them on Twitter. Companies have said to other outlets, this is our history. I'm thinking specifically of Nintendo and how close-knit they are with their history and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So with companies like that, or companies even like Ubisoft or EA, which they don't really care about their back catalog. They're like, I can't make as much money off of my back catalog as I can off
of
Assassin's
the new game
Creed
that
19.
I'm pumping out. Yeah.
Yeah, so they're like, we don't really care about that.
Yeah.
So it's why I get the Retro Gamer magazines, because like this history needs to be contained and maintained somewhere.
Yeah. Well, and you've got a pretty nice collection of games. So you're maintaining your own little piece of the history.
Yes.
So,
But I don't have access to developers. I don't have access to Like that's the thing I like about. That's why I get retro gamer.
But you kind of do through social media, right?
Yeah.
Like I had said something to Cliffy B, and he got back to me.
Oh, I tweet at Tim Schafer all the time. He's the nicest guy in the world.
Oh yeah, but
and he's freaking Tim Schafer, so
yeah.
he doesn't have to be. Like you're a freaking legend. You don't have to be nice to people.
But why would you want to be a jerk?
Yeah, he's like, I'm Tim Schafer. I wouldn't want to be a jerk. Like, okay, you're awesome.
I don't want to be a jerk. I'm Tim Schafer. I mean, it's like a big ugly bear anyway.
Yeah, so that's why I get Retro Gamer, because they're so into. It's a UK magazine, so obviously they have a big history basis in the United Kingdom.
Mm-hmm.
So it's a lot of stuff from developers that you wouldn't normally hear from here in the States, because either they're out of it or they're not they're not working on stuff here in the States anymore. You know, so that's why I read an entire article on their history of Rare, and that's why everyone's like, oh, the Rare nowadays at Microsoft sucks, and it's not the old Rare.
No, it's always been this way.
Like it's like there was a window of time in the mid '90s when they were a second-party Nintendo developer that they had an awesome output, but before that they were also like.
I mean, really, are the Donkey Kong Country games really that good though?
But like, there was a time before that where they were a really shit port house. Like, if you had a PC game that you wanted to put on the Nintendo, you gave it to Rare,
and they would port it over.
Yeah. So and it's interesting to see the UK's perspective on things, of like the history of the ZX Spectrum, like stuff that I hadn't, or the Commodore.
Yeah.
Stuff that I hadn't had direct access to that much.
Yeah.
Because back in the day when this was all happening, all we had was Nintendo Power, and as much as Gamergate would like to think that video games journalism went off the rails the minute someone said the word feminism, like Nintendo Power was state-run media.
It was a big ad for Nintendo games.
Yeah. Like I remember like I would go to specific bookstores because they would have Die Hard Game Fan, and I wanted to read Die Hard Game Fan because they were talking about Japanese games, and I was into Japanese games. Yeah. So, yes. So hats off to Hardcore Gaming 101. And specifically, my favorite subject of there's the Goemon games, which are not in either of these books, but are mentioned in both, oddly enough. Goemon, for just taking that chunk of history and pruning it and giving it somewhere to breathe.
Yeah.
And if you're a youngin' and you have no idea what any of this is, but you're into gaming and you're into retro gaming,
it'd be the place to go.
That is the place to start. So. Yeah.
Sounds good. I mean, they seem like pretty cool books. Yeah, like just thumbing through them, I thought there was a lot of really neat stuff. Like I mean,
they're awesome, and get the color versions if you can.
Yeah.
I mean, like, look, here's a 2-page spread on Axelay, which, where else would you get a 2-page spread on Axelay except maybe the Nintendo Power?
Yeah.
That happened to be pimping Axelay that month.
Yeah.
And Nintendo Power would not have this much text on 2 pages. So.
No. Well, it would be bigger text to be.
Yeah, and it would be like skewed and in like explosive sunbursts.
That's right. Oh God, I miss
90s
magazines.
Layouts.
They're so great.
You look at them now, you're like, oh my, how did I, as a kid.
How do you read this?
I mean, is this why I have neck problems as a 30-year-old?
No, that's because you were sitting on the floor going like this, playing games, because you were this far from the TV.
So yeah, so I actually I after I finished reading this week, I tweeted out at the guy, I was like, hats off, let's do a Goemon one, let's talk about the Konami RPGs, let's talk about Suikoden, or an entire one from Metal Gear Solid would blow my mind with like a Hideo Kojima interview in it.
It would be this thick.
Yeah. So I'm just saying,
it would be stupid thick for the Metal Gear one.
Or like Sega Arcade Volume is called Volume 1. Well, I want Volume 2 of that. Let's talk about Virtual On. I would love that. Let's talk about Virtua Fighter. Or let's
all
go
the Dreamcast titles.
Just do a Genesis book and talk in depth about Streets of Rage and Phantasy Star. Like that would be awesome. Like we have the Sonic Genesis collection back there. Just do a companion unofficial companion book to it.
Like, that way you can talk about all those games and
in depth. Like this is what this is. This is the people that made it.
Yeah.
Talk about the Yuji Naka talking. His crazy idea about spinning Sonic up. The first game
Instead
and
of
they didn't want to do it, and so we put it in the second game, and it became like the biggest thing in the world.
A signature thing. Yeah.
So
the hallmark of the series. Yeah, that seems like pretty cool. I've never actually been to this website before, so I might check it out this week.
So Hardcore Gaming 101, put it into Google, and then go down the rabbit hole.
Turn safe search on, probably.
There are some, and he does like warn you that like, because like Valis became a Rogue after a few iterations, so he does warn you like, this is gonna want to get not safe for work, guys, because the Japanese can be kind of weird.
Yep. Safe search on always when looking at things at work. At home, that's your personal preference. If you've got private tabs, that's probably the way to go.
So that's it. That's it for me. That's all I wanted to say.
Okay.
Buy these books.
We'll be back
I'm
later.
pimping. No one has paid me to pimp these books, but I'm pimping these books because
Andy's
they
a hoe.
need to be pimped. Because they're fun, they're great. Like, I am a big Gradius fan, and I like to think that I am a huge Gradius fan, but there was a Gradius game in here that I did not know existed.
Yeah.
So, awesome.
We'll be back.